September 2004, Phoenix, Arizona. On the outside, the Orbins' marriage seemed golden. A charismatic businessman who hustled hard and loved big, and a striking former showgirl who could turn a room with just a smile. The money flowed, deals closed, and from the curb it all gleamed. But all that glitters isn't gold, and when the shine was gone, so was the marriage and the husband. This is The Showgirl and the Salesman, the Marjorie Orbin case, Part 1. Hey, y'all, I'm Chris Calvert.
And I'm her husband, Rob Podorf. Welcome to Hitched to Homicide.
For better or worse.
Till death do us part.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome. And for our friends over there in New Zealand.
And we do have friends in New Zealand.
Yes, we do. And if I butcher this, know that I got the pronunciation off the internet. So if I'm wrong, it's wrong.
Okay.
So just let me know.
Okay.
All right. Here am I.
Very nice.
I hope so.
Well, wherever you're listening, be sure to like, rate, and review the podcast. We love it when you send us emails and drop us a line on social media.
Yes, we do.
If you love the show, give us some stars and a quick comment. And if you're watching today on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button below.
Yep.
We really do appreciate all of our listeners.
Yes, we
and
do.
Speaking of, go join the In-Laws and Outlaws. Just go to H2H In-Laws and Outlaws on Facebook, answer a couple questions, and you're in.
Yes.
If this is your first listen with us, they are our extended family here at Hitched to Homicide.
They're a bunch of wacky, crazy, fun people.
If you like true crime, you won't regret it. You can find us on Instagram at Hitched to Homicide or on X at H2H_podcast. And we also have a Buy Me a Coffee link if you want to send the redhead some coffee to get him through every single day and every single case.
It used to be redder.
And then he married me. We say this a lot. Rob, this case was suggested by one of our listeners, and once I got into it, there was so much to it. I had to break it into two parts. So we weren't keeping everybody for 3 hours. You know, you drive a little bit and you're like, I wanted to hear the end of it. Well,
yeah.
The end of it is next week.
All right.
Before we get started, let me thank some sources. Wikipedia, CBS News 48 Hours, TheyWillKillYou.com, Murderpedia, Chilling Crimes, True Crime All the Time, Monsters, UPI, The Arizona Republic, and there are a couple of books. Bright Lights, Dark Deeds, The True Story of Marjorie Orbin by Samantha Reese, and Dancing with Death by Shanna Hogan.
All right. Well, you ready?
I am.
Let's do it.
Jay Michael Orbin was born on September 8th, 1959 in Phoenix, Arizona to Jake and Joanne Orbin. His parents were both born and raised in Pennsylvania, and they married in July of 1951. Jay's got an older brother, Jake Jr., who was born in Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania, Joanne's hometown, in 1953. But Jake Jr. suffered from severe asthma, and their pediatrician said, you got to get this kid to a drier climate. And is there a drier climate than Phoenix, Arizona? I don't think so.
Nope.
So the family of three packed up and moved to Phoenix, Arizona, just a few months after that recommendation. So these parents really love their kids so much, and they pack up the station wagon. They head west in July of 1957. They bought a small home in the Phoenix suburb of Alta Vista.
Okay.
And in 1959, their second son, Jay, was born. Now, this is a close-knit family. They attended church every single Sunday. Jake Sr. worked at the post office, and Joanne took a job on an assembly line at Honeywell, where she will eventually work her way up to being a manager. So, hardworking family.
Yeah.
Jay was a typical young boy. He loved sports. He played Little League. His dad coached his Little League team all the way to the playoffs when he's 12. Jay liked to ride his bike everywhere. He loved swimming. They had an outdoor pool behind their house. So the friends and family were always over. Like every house in Phoenix seems to have a pool because it's so daggone hot. If you've ever been there in August, which I have, it'll burn the skin off the bottoms of your feet if you have to wear shoes.
I heard they just sleep in their pool at night.
It really is warm.
Yeah.
Now, because the family is originally from Pennsylvania, they are all Steelers fans. I'm just wondering how many people have become Steelers fans because Aaron Rodgers has now moved from the Packers to the Jets to the Steelers.
Well,
yes, Chris is a football fan, by the way.
In total transparency and honesty, being a lifelong devoted Bengals fan,
yes,
I can honestly say this is the first time in my entire life that I go, okay, because I like Aaron Rodgers, and I look at the Steelers and say, okay, I don't like them any more than I do the Browns.
Yep. And that's saying a lot, honey, as a Bengals fan.
It is.
There you go.
It is. And the reason I stuttered on that, because it was really hard to get out.
To say the word Browns?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh
yeah.
My, okay. When Jay is a teenager, he grows tall and lanky. He's one of those kids who could grow a mustache in high school.
No, I hated those guys.
He's going to grow to 6'2", and by the time he graduates high school, he weighs about 230 pounds. He's a big guy.
When I was a freshman, I was 5 foot even, 98 pounds. No joke.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow until in between my junior and senior year. So those were the guys I always hated.
You turned out okay, honey.
Yeah, it's
although it still does take you a while to grow a mustache. And when you do, it's a little bit Santa Claus, y'all.
It is. That's why I don't wear a beard or a mustache.
But Jay's a big guy, and according to his friends, he was really charming. He had big blue eyes, and apparently he liked to flash his crooked smile. While he's still in high school, he takes a job in the garden department at a discount department store, and while he's working there on evenings and weekends, he's hired to do some landscaping and gardening on the side. So going to school, working part-time at the department store, and also landscaping in his free time.
Okay.
This is the kind of born salesman and go-getter that Jay was from the get-go, from an early start.
Gotcha.
One of Jay's best and most prominent clients was a developer who built model home neighborhoods, and Jay worked on numerous yards for him. And Jay's making bank, and it didn't take long before his older brother, Jake Jr., was like, hold the phone. You're making more money working 2 days a week as a landscaper than I am working 40 hours a week at my job.
Wow.
I want in. Immediately after graduation in 1977, Jay started his own business, Landscape Matters, and Jay asked his brother Jake to join him, and these two are off to the races. Jay managed the crews, and Jake handled all the paperwork, and these two worked really hard. It's an ethic, I think, that they inherited from their parents.
Sure.
They both bought big 4x4 pickup trucks for their tools and their equipment, and these two are doing so well, they landed an account to maintain the grounds of Motel 6 locations across the country.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Jay, who is 1 year out of high school, buys his first home with his brother Jake. They buy a home in Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
Now, these two brothers did exceptionally well until the mid-'80s, and their landscaping business began to dry up, and Jay and Jake decided it was time to move on to something new. Jake Jr. got married and then moved to San Diego, taking a job as the horticulturalist for the city of San Diego's Balboa Park and for Mission Bay Parks and Rec. It was his dream job, and he will always credit his little brother for the opportunity to work in this field with him because it led him to his new job in California.
Okay.
Now, Jay is on his own, so he took the money he'd made and saved from the landscaping business and invested in a comedy club called Chuckles.
Okay.
Which makes me chuckle.
Yeah, there's a switch.
And I tried to find information about the comedians who came through there, but according to the book Dancing with Death by Shanna Hogan, the club was classy and hosted many high-profile acts. Jay befriended several comedians during this time. He was really close with Richard Belzer, who is later famed for his television roles, like on Law and Order SVU and Homicide. But that, too, closed a few years after he is an investor. Chuckles closes the door. He buys another house with a pool and a tennis court. He loved to throw barbecues and pool parties, and the guest list was a bit interesting. During all this time, Jay, who was funny and charming, but maybe not devastatingly handsome, loved to frequent strip clubs. He was a regular at a few clubs around the Phoenix area, and he was good to the girls who knew him by name. He was known to be a big spender at the clubs, and he would lavish gifts and money on the girls who worked there. And he even dated a few of them outside of the club. He frequented Bourbon Street Circus, Babes Cabaret, and Skin Cabaret several times a week.
Wow.
And he would invite these dancers to his home for barbecues and parties, and these girls would play volleyball in these skimpy outfits, and his friends would also come to the parties.
Of course they would.
And they're like, dude, you rock. You're like Hugh Hefner Jr., right?
Yeah.
So this is his haunt, these strip clubs. And the beautiful women with big hair, it was the 80s, and lots of makeup who danced there are going to be his kryptonite, okay?
In the 80s, I mean, with the big hair and stuff like that, and especially if you had a barbecue, he had to keep them away from the fire because all that Aquanet is very flammable.
That hairspray, you just go up like that, man.
Exactly.
Don't think I didn't think about that in the 80s when I had some Aquanet going on. One night in 1985 at the Bourbon Street Circus, Jay, who is now 26 years old, was having a beer at the bar all by himself when he locked eyes with a woman named Marjorie Marquis. Marjorie Ann Crow was born on October 29th, 1961 in Miami, Florida. She was the second child of William and Janelle Crow. When she's only 3, her parents divorced, and her mother married a man named Peter Garrett, who Marjorie will consider to be her father. Her mom was a kindergarten teacher. Her stepdad was an air conditioning repairman in Miami. I'm sure he was busy.
And brother, business is a booming.
She grows up in an upper middle class home, and Marjorie's mom wanted her daughter to have all the tools to be a proper young woman with impeccable etiquette. She takes a second job in order to pay for dance lessons, and it was something that Marjorie showed a passion and an affinity for really soon in her life. As she's a little girl, she's really good at dance.
Okay.
Marjorie took tap, ballet, and jazz, and she wanted to be a professional dancer and choreographer when she grew up.
Oh, well, we know something about that.
We know a little something about that. Although Marjorie and our daughter are taking completely different paths in life.
Good.
Just put it out there from the get-go.
All right.
In school at Lake Brantley High School, Marjorie became a majorette, marching with the school band during parades and football games. She was actually known as Marching Marjorie.
Yeah.
And Marjorie is a bit of a flirt, but she doesn't really date in high school because she liked older men, not boys. When she's 15, she takes a job at a steakhouse as a hostess, and on top of school and this part-time job, she's dancing on weekends at Once Upon a Stage, which is a dinner theater. And Marjorie is dreaming big, and she was a perfection seeker, and she looked for that in men. She loved the early stages of love. Well, who doesn't, Marjorie?
Yeah.
Right? All the butterflies, that's great.
Yeah.
But the spark, after that, if the spark died out, she was on to the next guy. So she always seems to be like she's a caring person, but it's kind of more on the surface because underneath, she's a little self-centered and kind of indifferent to the people around her.
Other than that, she's a great person.
Other than that, she's really pretty, right?
Yeah.
While she's working at the restaurant, she's noticed by a man named Mitchell Marquis. He was a successful man, and Marjorie thought he looked like one of the Bee Gees. And I'm going to say he looked like Barry Gibb. I don't know that's for sure, but he was always considered the hot one at the time.
Well, thank God it wasn't Robin.
I was like in 5th or 6th grade, by the way, when the Bee Gees were like huge.
Yeah. Yep.
Mitchell is 10 years older than she is, so 25, but he was exactly what she wanted in a guy. He was handsome and rich. He'd followed this blueprint of a man named Michael J. Peter, who founded places like Solid Gold and the Pure Platinum. Michael was the original owner and innovator of the Gentlemen's Club, and Mitchell liked this concept, and he too made the bouncers wear tuxedos, just like the guy he was trying to emulate. Mm-hmm. He hired only attractive and well-mannered women for his staff, and all the employees had to take etiquette classes. So it's a classy strip club. And it really set his establishment apart from the other more seedy strip joints. In addition to this gentleman's club, Mitchell also owned a motorcycle shop. So he's an entrepreneur who likes to innovate and make money. But these two start dating and become boyfriend and girlfriend.
And how old was she at this time?
From everything I could find, she's 15, he's 25.
Is that legal?
Well, depending on what's going on.
Okay.
But, you know, she's tall, blonde, bleach blonde hair. Mm-hmm. He looks like one of the Bee Gees.
Right.
Big hair. Big hair, true love. I actually had a good friend who was a photographer have an exhibition, and that was what it was called, Big Hair and True Love. And it was pictures of all these women with just really big hair.
I'm going to venture to say he had 3-inch stacks as shoes too also.
Maybe. When Marjorie is 17, she's at her OBGYN's office for a checkup, and she's told that she suffered from endometriosis and that having children was probably not in her future. And Marjorie was devastated over this news. And knowing this at 17 really kind of reshapes the way that Marjorie thinks about her future, which I get that. If you're 17 and you're thinking, you know, someday I want to be married and have kids, and at 17 you find out you're never going to have kids.
Right.
Well, then, do you just want to become a career woman? I mean, what do you want to do with your life,
sure,
right?
Sure.
In 1980, when Marjorie graduates high school, she moves to Orlando with Mitchell. They move in together, and Marjorie takes a job as a cocktail waitress and a dancer. So not a strip club. The establishment was at Church Street Station, and places like Rosie O'Grady's Good Time Emporium had female dancers and can-can girls and singing waitresses that performed song and dance routines while they were serving the drinks. I can't think of anything more annoying. Just coming from a family that's in like show business between Rob and our daughter, sometimes you just want to sit down and have food and drink. You don't need somebody twirling around you singing.
Yeah, when we go out to a restaurant, I don't even like to be at a restaurant and trust me, I have a ton of friends that are musicians that play in weekend bands, plays in bars, plays in restaurants, stuff. But personally, I can't take it when I go to eat somewhere and the music's so loud by live that you can't even talk.
Yeah, live
drives
music.
me nuts. Yeah.
Or like one person playing a saxophone to a boombox that's got everything else going on behind it. We've been in that situation before too.
That he's a half step out of key.
Yeah, he's a half step out of key. It did that was good entertainment, I have to say. We got a little bit of a giggle out of that.
I actually took my phone and recorded a little bit and sent it to my other composer buddy over in England and said, "This is my hell."
He was it was an honest living, honey. He was trying hard.
I know. I don't begrudge him at all. I just begrudged my experience.
If anybody else has had one of these experiences, email us. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But Marjorie's a really good dancer, and the management noticed her and asked her to start doing some choreography. And I believe the place she worked was actually called the Cheyenne Saloon.
Okay.
A year later, when Marjorie is 19, she and Mitchell get married on March 28th, 1981, and she is promoted to manager at her job. And when she took on more responsibilities at work, she spent more time away from her new husband, Mitchell. And this causes a lot of tension in their marriage, and it all fell apart within a year and a half. I mean, they're young, too.
Yeah.
They would divorce on October 11th, 1982, and according to Marjorie, the split was amicable, mostly. One thing Marjorie liked and didn't want to give up was her last name. She thought Marjorie Marquis was better suited for a dancer, and she also thought the name was prettier. Mm-hmm. So remember, her maiden name is Crow, Marjorie Crow. So Marjorie Marquis seems a little bit fancier.
Crow Marquis.
As her marriage with Mitchell is coming to an end, Marjorie started seeing a man named Larry Tweed. He was 22, but already had a fat bank account because he worked in his family's successful furniture business. So when the divorce is final with Mitchell in 1983, 8 months later, she marries Larry.
Jeez.
But 2 years after this, Marjorie divorces Larry, and before the ink can dry on the divorce papers, she's got a new love. She met part-time singer and hairstylist Luke Forrest. What a great combo. I'm a part-time singer, but I also do hair. I bet he looked good on stage.
Yeah.
She meets Luke Forrest at the club where she's working just as he's about to take the stage. And in just a few short weeks, she went from living with Larry to living with Luke. And these two were both very good looking, but Marjorie soon discovered that Luke was a control freak. He always wanted her paycheck to help pay the bills, and she handed it over to him. I read that she handed it over to him gladly. But when her car is repossessed while she's at work, she realizes that Luke isn't paying the bills at all. He had been gambling all their money away.
Oh.
And she leaves Luke. They're not married,
right?
But she's handing over her paycheck to him. But I guess he's just taking care of the bills.
Sure.
He apologizes. They kiss and make up. In 1985, Luke starts telling Marjorie about his intention to move back to Cincinnati, Ohio, his hometown.
Oh, wow.
And according to him, his parents were going to sell their apartment complex and move to Florida. And Luke also says that if he moved to Ohio, he could renovate the building and his parents would give him a share in the profits when it sells. And while he's renovating, they would have a free apartment. Sounds too good to be true.
Which normally it is.
Because it is. Yeah. Marjorie quits her job, and they sell almost everything and pack up Luke's car because I guess that one didn't get repossessed. And they head off to Ohio. But he's acting weird on the trip from Florida to Ohio. He's making phone calls at payphones along the way. Yes, you had to stop and talk at a payphone. You had to get out of your car and find a payphone.
Mommy, what's a payphone?
Exactly. But eventually he tells Marjorie that the apartment wouldn't be available for a few more weeks, but he had a plan. He had friends who worked at a salon in Las Vegas, and they could go there, and he could get a job with them and make some money, and then they would move to Cincinnati. And Marjorie is wondering why Luke's very wealthy parents are aware he's homeless and not helping.
Yeah.
At all.
Right.
They make it to Vegas in the fall of 1985, and they have an $8,000 safety net in the bank. I think this is all her money.
Sure.
Or maybe Marjorie has a safety net in the bank, I should say.
Yeah.
They rent a small apartment. This is when Marjorie begins to look for work as a dancer, and she lands a job as a showgirl at the Stardust Hotel and Casino. It looked very glamorous, but it didn't pay much. And Luke still didn't have a job, and those friends with the salon, well, they're nowhere to be found. And after weeks of fighting, suddenly Luke tells her that he'd found the friends, but his cosmetology license kept him from working outside of Florida.
Okay.
Well, that's something I would think you would know, right?
Yeah.
So he's supposedly looking for a job, but while money is tight, Luke begins to pressure Marjorie to start pole dancing so they could make more money. And she's thinking, but we have $8,000 as our safety net. But they didn't. She discovers that Luke has gambled away all of this money.
Jeez.
And that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
She loaded up the car and headed back to Florida from Vegas, and that's a long drive. She made it as far as Phoenix before the car breaks down. And she takes it into a repair shop, and they tell her it's going to cost her $1,000 to fix this car.
Wow.
And not only that, the part they needed would take about 10 days to make it to their repair shop. So now she's got to find some money somewhere to get back on the road to Florida. So she sets out to find a temporary job to make money to fix the car and get the heck fire out of Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And during her job search, she came up with a solution. Maybe Luke was right. Maybe a strip club would make her more money. So she takes a job at the Bourbon Street Circus, and she starts making more money than she'd ever made in her life. Mm-hmm. She'd taken a job as the club manager. She's got lots of managerial experience, right? Mm-hmm. She made $850 a week, but as a topless dancer, she could easily make $500 to $600 a night.
Wow.
And when she takes the stage for the first time, she has zero exotic dance experience. Now, she was a showgirl. I don't know if she was topless when she was in Vegas dancing. I'm thinking that she was not, probably just in a skimpy outfit.
Yeah.
But she's never had like topless dance, exotic, sexy dance experience.
Right.
But she is a dancer, and she was a natural, and the crowds loved her. She was pretty, but more than that, she was sexy and had an exceptionally perceptive feel and vibe about her. She could read the room really well, and she could give customers exactly what they came in there for. She's really popular as a dancer. She got to know all of the regulars, and most of these men aren't good looking, and in real life, these women would have nothing to do with them. But for $100 bill, that would change for the few moments they were with a girl in the club.
Of course.
And in 1985, one of the regulars was Jay Orbin. Marjorie had only been working the stage for a few days when Jay walks in. He walked over to her, put a $100 bill on the table, and asked if he could buy her a drink. He was instantly smitten. 26-year-old Jay thought Marjorie was the perfect woman. Now, she's not as enamored of him. She thought he was overweight, that his hair was thinning, and she didn't like his huge belt buckle or his pinky ring.
Well, there's an image.
She thought he looked like a used car salesman.
And he was.
But when she got to know him, when she talked to him, she discovered that he was really funny. He was very witty and charming, and Jay could make Marjorie laugh. Now, Jay was going to the club 6 times a week to see Marjorie. And even though she didn't have feelings for him or want a relationship with him, she did want a relationship with his wallet. Mm-hmm. He was throwing money at her fast and loose. A few weeks after he meets Marjorie, he asks her out on a date, and she says...
Yes?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank God.
She turned him down.
Yeah.
She turns him down a lot. But eventually, she agreed to a Sunday afternoon date, a picnic. Now, after this, she would visit with him in between dances, and they'd share a drink. 24-year-old Marjorie started opening up to Jay. After all, the other dancers had told her what a nice guy he was. Not a stalker, but he was a normal, sweet man. Marjorie tells Jay all about her relationship problems, and Jay would listen and be supportive. But after a few months of this, Marjorie kind of felt like she's wasting her time with Jay. And even though he drove a BMW and he spent hundreds at the club each night, when she sees his house, he takes her home. Guys, listen up. When she sees his house, she's really disappointed. It's a bachelor pad, but I don't think it's a very nice bachelor pad, right?
Right.
She thought it would be nicer. And these two did have a few romantic evenings, and Jay attempted to have a physical relationship. He made his move, but Marjorie said...
But the belt buckle got in the way.
Marjorie said no.
Oh, okay.
She was turned off by Jay and his belt buckle. And at that point, she packed up and moved back to Florida. Jay wasn't the kind of guy she wanted to marry. She wanted big things, and Jay was too small time for her. He begged her to stay, but she said no. She drove back to Florida, where she meets Michael J. Peter, a multimillionaire that many referred to as the strip club king. He would take seedy bars and turn them into gentlemen's clubs. Michael hired Marjorie to dance and choreograph dances in the club. And these two were in a long-term relationship and were even engaged, but they're never going to get married. Mostly because Michael slept around on her. He cheated on her.
That's a problem?
That's a problem. He did put Marjorie in one of his films titled No More Dirty Deals.
Oh, gee.
But like all of Marjorie's relationships, it ended. So Marjorie is back in Florida, and she starts topless dancing at a place called The Dollhouse just outside of Fort Lauderdale. She got herself an apartment and furniture. She's quickly making as much as $1,000 a night dancing.
Wow.
She will have many boyfriends during this time, and she actually married quite a few of them. And just for the record, and you can't find all the records, Marjorie will marry 6 times.
Jeez, wow.
Before she marries the 7th time. But she marries 7 times before she's 35. 7 times.
Amazing.
By 1993, Marjorie moves back to Vegas. She works again as a showgirl in the Follies Bergère at the Tropicana and the Jubilee and Bally's. And I don't know if she was working at the strip clubs at the same time or not, but she does eventually end up at the Club Paradise Dancers. And it just so happened that a guy named Jay Orbin was in Vegas on business, and he saw Marjorie's face on a billboard for the Club Paradise Dancers. Cue the love music, you know. He's like driving down the Vegas Strip, and he sees Marjorie's face on a billboard for a strip club, and he's like, pierced through the heart.
Yeah.
He stopped at the nearest phone booth to look her up. He hasn't seen Marjorie in 10 years, but he's going to see her that night. Now, she is shocked to hear from him, but he told her that he'd been looking for her. He asked her out that night, and they went for a drink.
Uh-oh.
And to Jay, Marjorie had only gotten more beautiful with age. She's like a fine wine, right?
That's what you are, baby.
Scoring points. Ching-ching. But Jay looked about the same, but his hair was thinner, and maybe he was a little chubbier.
And the belt buckle was even larger.
I think the belt buckle was still there, but maybe it had just been let out a notch or two.
Actually, if he was bigger, it probably looked smaller.
Yeah, maybe. But Marjorie had fun with Jay, and Jay had been busy with his own life. After Chuckles closed, Jay decided that sales was his forte, and he founded another company called Spectral Kinetics, which was a company that sold static electricity orbs to nightclubs and bars.
Okay.
Do you remember these things?
Oh, you see them in Spencer's Gifts.
Yeah, you put your hands on them, and like the lightning comes out. Yeah.
Well, there's a niche product.
Yeah, and it was really popular for a while.
Yeah.
And apparently he had these orbs all over his house. But after only a year, guess what? A Chinese factory began making them at a lower cost something lower than he could even match.
Right.
And this almost drove Jay to bankruptcy. And Jay, who's always been successful, is facing yet another failed business, and not of his own making. Now, this is when he meets a man named Jim Rogers. Jim made thousands and thousands of dollars selling Native American-themed jewelry and art at flea markets and craft shows. And Jim liked Jay's entrepreneurial spirit and work ethic, So he showed what and how he ran his business. He helped Jay get started selling Native American-themed jewelry and art as an independent seller.
Okay.
These two will eventually go their separate ways and even become competitors, but they always remained friends. So Jay started a new business, Jayhawk Trader. He was selling not only jewelry, but pottery, rugs, art. He's wildly successful. After just a few short years, Jay is pulling in 6 figures. He bought a warehouse in Phoenix and a large white cargo truck. He partnered with manufacturers and retailers and created a wholesale market for his goods. He had a great reputation for being trustworthy and honest. He was an upfront guy, and because of that, he built a huge clientele, a big list of folks who were very loyal to him. He was a shrewd businessman, but he was always looking out for others. And an example of this is when one of his customers couldn't pay his bill from Jay for the goods he provided him. The client had fallen on hard times, and Jay forgives this debt and tells him, don't worry about it.
Oh, wow.
Don't worry about it. Again, I think his parents raised him right, him and his brother both.
Sure.
Because Jay never forgot where he came from, even though he's making a lot of money. He wasn't the kind of guy who put on airs. He didn't wear business suits. He wore jeans with his massive belt buckle and short sleeve shirts, like short sleeve button downs, and sneakers, which I thought was interesting. He would wear sneakers and not cowboy boots. And I read in one source that it was a running joke amongst his friends that if Jay needed to go somewhere fancy, he'd just polish his cowboy boots. And speaking of friends, Jay had a lot of them. He was funny. He's a guy's guy. He's witty and charming. He's a natural salesman in everything he did, including wooing women. And he was rarely seen without some arm candy, usually from one of the strip clubs. But the bigger Jayhawk Trader got, the more time Jay was spending on the road. He was spending weeks at a time on the road, and he only came back to Phoenix when he needed to restock his big white truck. And this made it even harder to have a real relationship with a woman. But that night in 1993, he's in Vegas and he saw Marjorie's billboard. And Marjorie was not only dancing, she was managing a dance troupe and doing choreography and dancing along with the younger girls. And there were some elaborate costumes involved, and her friends are partiers. And she was kind of past that stage. They were taking trips to California and to Catalina Island, and even though she continued to have short-lived relationships with lots of wealthy men, she was at the point in her life where she was ready to settle down. It only took 6 marriages.
Yeah.
But she wanted to be a wife and a mother. And coincidentally, Jay wanted to be a father. He wanted a wife and a family. So when they see each other for the first time, they stay up all night talking. Jay had to leave for Phoenix the next morning, but he felt like they maybe rekindled something. And Marjorie was tired of the same old guy, the ones who were all flash and no substance. She needed something stable. And these two start talking every day and carrying on a long-distance relationship. Jay went to Vegas anytime he could swing it to see her, and she eventually came to Phoenix to visit him. And when she arrived, she was pleasantly surprised to discover that Jay now lived in a very nice home. After 2 years of back and forth and long-distance phone calls, Marjorie comes to Phoenix and stayed with Jay for a week. So for 2 years, he's going to Vegas to see her. It takes 2 years before she comes to Phoenix and realizes, oh, he's got a nice house.
Yeah.
And when she's there for this week, Jay proposed to her. And Marjorie said,
Yes.
No.
No. I'm going to get it right one of these times.
She wasn't in love with him, and she couldn't see herself living in Phoenix. She wanted to be married and have a child, but not with Jay.
Yeah.
But Jay refused to give up on her. In 1995, Jay went to Vegas, and they talked, and for the first time, she told him that she wanted to be a mom, but she was told that she couldn't have children. And Jay says to her, if you marry me, I will help you get fertility treatments. I will pay for fertility treatments. And if you get pregnant, we will raise this child together. They're both getting something out of it, right?
I guess.
Jay got to marry the woman he loved, and Marjorie got the family she wanted.
Yeah.
And she didn't have to pay for her fertility treatments. So she gave in. So instead of saying yes, I'm saying she gave in.
Yeah. In sickness and in health and in infertility treatments.
Right.
Okay.
She'd already been married 6 times. So what's one more? Jay is number 7. Meanwhile, when Jay tells his family, his mom isn't all that jazzed about it. She thought that Marjorie was pretty, but she thought Marjorie was a gold digger.
Yeah.
And she accused Joanne, Jay's mom, of being jealous when Jay would dote on his future bride. So Jay's doting on Marjorie, and Marjorie saying, your mom is jealous of this.
Wow.
Yeah. She wasn't what they saw as wife material for their son. She would wear these micro mini skirts and high heels, lots of makeup, not his parents' idea of the perfect wife.
Yeah.
And she didn't have an interest in forming a relationship with anyone in Jay's family.
Yeah, that's not a good start.
Not to mention, Marjorie lied to Jay's parents about her past. She told Joanne that she was a showgirl and choreographer, but left out all the stripping and topless jobs. She said she'd been married once and that he had died in a car accident. Then she doubles down on this lie, saying that she was injured in this car accident too, and she'd been in a coma for 6 weeks,
Wow.
needing many surgeries to survive.
Hey, go big or go home if you're going to lie.
Yeah, it's very much a soap opera, right? She's like giving her a soap opera.
Yeah.
And at this point, his family was like, okay, she's been through a lot. We won't judge her based on like how she dresses and stuff.
Yeah.
Even though the family wasn't into her, Jay and Marjorie married in July of 1995, eloping to the Little White Wedding Chapel on Las Vegas Boulevard.
Yeah.
And Marjorie even wore white, a white lacy dress with sequins and a plunging neckline to show off her surgically enhanced breasts. She's tan, really tan, and she has platinum blonde hair, and even though it's the 90s, she's stuck in the 80s with her hair. It's got some big hair.
All right.
And this was the arrangement. Marjorie would marry and live with him in Phoenix. She'd get fertility treatments for up to 2 years, and if she didn't get pregnant by then, she would leave him. Now, in the beginning, the marriage seemed fine. They were happy, even though they seemed a little mismatched. She's all glam, and he was the guy wearing the big belt buckle.
Mm-hmm.
She did like being a housewife and not having to work every day. Jay hired a fertility expert, and she started the treatments, and they're really hard on her body. And anybody who's done fertility treatments, I never have, but I have friends who have, they really are hard on you. She's taking these shots. They bruise her body. They give her hot flashes. She has night sweats. And twice she had to go to the emergency room because she was having painful side effects.
Wow.
Meanwhile, Jay's brother, Jake Jr., who's very excited that his baby brother got hitched, comes to Phoenix from California to visit. And he liked Marjorie. But what he learns is that Marjorie doesn't get along with any of Jay's friends. She would go to casual outings like a baseball game, wearing a sequin dress and stilettos.
What?
To a baseball game. And she complained a lot about Jay's buddies always wanting to be around. So what do you think Jay does?
He tells them to go away.
He stopped seeing his friends altogether.
Of course he did.
The fertility treatments went on for months, and Jay spent over $60,000. But he's really good to her. He takes excellent care of his wife. Marjorie still isn't in love with Jay, but she started to at least feel close to him. And at one point, she even told him that if she didn't get pregnant, she would stay. She was enjoying cooking and cleaning and doing laundry while Jay was the moneymaker. She kept the house and herself looking fresh, and while she was decorating the home, she was also getting facials and buying makeup and getting hair extensions and tanning and working out. She bought herself a lot of jewelry and a lot of expensive clothes and handbags. And Jay is like, you go, girl. You just do it.
Wow.
But all the treatments paid off when they discovered in late 1995 that Marjorie was pregnant. She's now 34 and Jay is 36.
Okay.
Their son, Noah Jacob Orbin, was born in August of 1996, and the next few years were great. I even read that the next few years were blissful. Marjorie was all about her new baby, and Jay, who was still traveling 2 weeks out of each month, leased a space in a strip mall so he could try his hand at selling retail instead of wholesale. But no one ever came to his store, and he had to get back out on the road. Now, when Noah is almost a year old, Jay and Marjorie buy him a puppy, a white Maltese that Noah kept with him all the time. They wanted this puppy and their son to grow up together, which I think is very sweet.
Yeah.
Jay was a great father, and when he was in town on Sundays, he would take Noah over to his parents' house to eat and visit. And Marjorie sometimes came with him, and if she did, she never stayed long. And Joanne, Jay's mom, feels like there's something off about Marjorie. Moms know. Jay's parents thought it seemed like Marjorie was just playing wife, like she was pretending to be a wife.
Gotcha.
And because they did all the fertility treatments, Jay and Marjorie had frozen embryos, and they decided they wanted to have a second child in 1997. And Marjorie discovers she's pregnant again, but she miscarried. And her obstetrician tells her, no more children. It's too risky.
Right.
But these two were just very, very happy to have Noah, and their worlds revolved around this one little child. And this was how it would be for the next several years. Jayhawk Trader was really successful. Noah and Marjorie didn't want for anything. She would dress Noah to the nines, and she would tell people that she and Jay had an arrangement, mostly the friends that she made there in Phoenix. She said that she didn't have sex with him very often and that their sex life wasn't all that great.
Wow.
Poor Jay.
Yeah.
She's out there saying that about him.
Man.
But Jay had a different viewpoint. He was very much in love with his wife and Noah. These two are his entire world. So Jay closed down the storefront that wasn't getting any business and bought his own warehouse in Phoenix for storage. He would drive out of state and all around the West for 2 weeks at a time and come back to load up his big white truck again, like $250,000 worth of stuff and jewelry and artwork and pottery. And he would carry around a lot of money and merchandise. And this made him very aware of his surroundings. He's really careful. He's really careful for his own safety. And because he worried about carrying so much money with him, he wrote a will leaving most of his assets to Marjorie and Noah. And to his good friend, Gary, he left his clientele list, his buyers. Mm-hmm. And after he did this, he asked Gary if once he took over the list, if something happens to me and you take over this list, will you give Marjorie and Noah 10% of the sales that you make so they would still have some money for a while? Mm-hmm. But he also took out $1 million life insurance policy on himself with Marjorie as the sole beneficiary.
Uh-oh. Well, that sounds like I should be playing a foreshadowing tune.
You want me to? That's called foreshadowing.
Okay, go.
But as the years went on, Marjorie and Jay were never really together. Marjorie wasn't affectionate towards Jay, and she couldn't wait for him to be gone the 2 weeks out of the month. She was like, isn't it time for you to leave again? I mean, and according to Marjorie, they finally stopped having sex altogether. But Marjorie still had a strong sex drive. So she wants sex, just not with her husband.
With him, right.
So this whole house of cards is about to collapse. Marjorie, for her part, played the devoted wife and mother, but there were people who really knew her that believed she was a master manipulator, to which I say, duh. She could be kind and show affection, but she was also selfish and calculating. She was very much out for herself. Marjorie's number one.
Yeah.
When Noah is 4, he's diagnosed with ADHD, and his doctor put him on Ritalin and told Jay and Marjorie that he should start doing a sport of some kind. So Marjorie signed Noah up for karate lessons, and she even drove little Noah to tournaments.
Okay.
They even traveled out of town for competitions. I just want to say, when our son Luke was a little boy, he did karate competitions, so I know exactly what this is. Mm-hmm. They're usually like in a high school gym or something, and there are lots of different mats going on, right? They spar, they do like all their little routines, but she's traveling out of town for competitions, and Marjorie became a karate mom. So there are dance moms and there are baseball moms. She was a karate mom. I was a dance mom, a baseball mom, a basketball mom, a football mom, and a karate mom, and a theater mom. Yep. And she is bad. She's a bad karate mom. She would practice his routines with him until he was one of the top students. And like anything else your kid does, you become friends with other karate parents. And these folks would have play dates and trips for the kids, and the parents would go too. But the guy who owned the studio, his name was James. He's a fit dude in his 40s. And Marjorie is openly flirtatious with James in front of the other parents. And people started talking, and everyone believed they were having an affair. And it's about this same time that Marjorie tells the other parents how unhappy she is with Jay. Things like he was using her because he wanted a beautiful woman on his arm, and that he couldn't satisfy her sexually because his penis was too small.
Oh, she's telling people this?
She's telling the karate parents this.
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She told people he was controlling, that she had to follow his rules or he'd throw her out on the street. And being the liar that she was, Marjorie told her new friends that she had a graduate degree and that she spoke many languages. Of course, she'd never been to college, but maybe she picked up some phrases from the men from other countries at the strip clubs.
Sure.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
In 2002, Noah started kindergarten, and Jay and Marjorie bought a bigger home in a more exclusive neighborhood. Whose idea you think that was?
Let me think. Yeah.
I mean, he's not even there 2 weeks out of the month.
Yeah.
I think he's just trying to keep her happy. She's excited about decorating the place. It keeps her busy. But the new neighbors didn't like her very much. They called her Barbie behind her back. And honestly, that's an insult to Barbie. It really is.
Wow.
It's about this time that Marjorie really became vocal, as if she hadn't been already, about how much she disliked Jay. Wow. He was fat. He was balding. He'd gained a lot of weight since they got married. Well, guess what? Men usually do gain weight after they get married.
I used to be 98 pounds.
That's right. So was I. I too was 98 pounds. At a social gathering, Marjorie referred to Jay as, quote, that fat guy, end quote.
Jeez.
Like, is your husband here? Yeah, he's that fat guy over there.
Man.
She gave up on trying to get him to eat better and to work out. She's at the gym every day, LA Fitness. And while she's there working out, she liked the attention she would get from men. Now, if she's wearing a short sequin dress and heels to the baseball game, what do you think she's wearing to the gym?
Yeah.
Just use your imagination, everybody.
Yep.
Now, by this time, Noah is old enough to really compete in karate tournaments, and Marjorie gets a little crazy. She wanted her son to win, and she'd do just about anything to make that happen, like putting itching powder in other boys' uniforms so Noah would win by default. She also started stalking other parents and kids and started leaving anonymous threats for another mother whose son was a top karate student.
Good Lord.
The parents and neighbors started saying that she was in a relationship with another woman. And she was also having sex with men.
Wow.
She's busy.
Yeah.
By 2003, 2004, Marjorie was alone a lot with Noah. He's in school full time and Jay's on the road. And the longer she was alone, the more she had time to think about how Jay just did not deserve her. She wanted to be desired, not by Jay, because Jay did desire her.
Right.
Just not by him,
Right.
but by a sexy, attractive man. But she didn't want to share custody of Noah with Jay, and she didn't want to give up her cushy life with Jay's money. Jay, for his part, never said that he and Marjorie were having problems. I don't know if he didn't want to talk about it or if he was oblivious to it. When he was home, he spent his time with Noah, teaching him how to play baseball and helping him with school homework and projects.
Right.
In 2004, he bought an even larger warehouse in Phoenix. This space had a front office and a space for him to keep merchandise. And on the weekdays, when he was in town, Jay went to his warehouse at 8 in the morning to work. Business was booming, just like you said. Mm-hmm. And he had about $200 million worth of merchandise in stock.
Wow.
And while he's working his butt off, Marjorie is all about Marjorie. She starts crushing Noah's Ritalin and snorting it.
Oh, geez.
She starts asking around to see if anyone could get her some cocaine.
Jeez.
She wanted it to help her lose weight. She had zero love for Jay, yet she told a friend that she was spiking his drink before he went out with his friends so he would get sick and have to come home early. Who does this?
That's
She's diabolical.
Yeah, psychotic.
Also in 2004, Marjorie starts sleeping around. No one really knows how many affairs she had, but there are two that everyone speaks of. One was a teenager, and the other was a 60-year-old man.
Good grief.
Guess she needed a variety.
Yeah.
The 19-year-old was a karate instructor at Noah's studio. He was tall and ripped and had a black belt. He's 19. Jeez. Of course he's ripped. He has 0% body fat.
Yeah,
he's 19.
Yep.
He can eat the refrigerator and burn it off just sleeping.
I remember those days.
Don't we all? He's actually the son of the owner, the same one she flirted with and everybody thought she was sleeping with.
Jeez.
But we know she was sleeping with his son, a kid that she had known since he was 14.
Man.
It started as flirting and quickly moved to sex whenever Jay was out of town. And the sex must have been pretty good because she tells this kid, who, by the way, has a girlfriend, that she's going to leave Jay because she wants to be with him. And that was enough for this 19-year-old to be like, bye. Bye, Felicia. I'm out of here.
Thanks for the gumball, Mickey.
Yeah. Apparently, he believed it was just a Mrs. Robinson kind of deal, right? A little cougar action on the side with a very experienced woman.
Right.
Well, Marjorie was really angry when she finds out that the 19-year-old wasn't going to sleep with her anymore. He's ending the affair. So Marjorie starts causing problems for this kid and his girlfriend. She started sending threatening calls and harassing messages to both of them.
Jeez.
She spread rumors about both of them. She attempted to get him fired or kicked out of the karate studio, putting pressure on his family. And she would show up uninvited to places that this kid and his girlfriend would frequent in order to intimidate and scare them. She's knuckin' futz.
Yeah, big time.
But in classic Marjorie style, she's moving on. Within a couple of weeks, she meets a new lover, Larry Weisberg, a 60-year-old divorced father of two and a grandfather to boot. He was muscular, tan, and had blue eyes and blonde hair that was graying at the temples. He worked out at the same LA fitness center that she went to. He worked at a graphic design studio in Phoenix, and Marjorie had the hots for him right away. She introduces herself to him as he's getting off the treadmill. He tells her about his kids and grandsons. She tells him about Noah. Then for the next week, Marjorie fantasizes about Larry. Every time she went to the gym, she was looking for him. A week later, over the weekend, she sees Larry lifting weights. She walks over to him, hands him a piece of paper with
her phone number on
it.
Of course she did.
And after he opened it, he looked at her and said, quote, "You're married," end quote. And she tells him that she's actually divorced and that she only wears the ring to keep men away. Keep men away? I think she loves it when the men come to her.
Yeah.
But in fact, she's not lying about the divorced part. She and Jay actually did get divorced on paper in 1998 because Marjorie had a ton of outstanding debt. So they did it to protect the business Jay had worked so hard to create.
Gotcha.
But Jay didn't look at it as a real divorce, and they'd talked about going back to Vegas to remarry with a prenup, but they hadn't gotten around to it. And no one else in Jay's life knew about the divorce. It's a secret that these two are divorced.
Okay.
So Larry's standing there, and Marjorie is telling him, we've been divorced for 7 years, and my ex is a traveling salesman. So the very next night, these two go out on a dinner date, and she tells Larry about how she and Jay have this living arrangement. And because Jay is gone most of the time, he's never around. When he was in town, he lived and slept at his warehouse, not at his house. Lies, all lies.
Man.
For the next couple of months, Larry and Marjorie get better acquainted, and after a handful of dates, she goes home with him, and they have sex. And they went from hookup to serious relationship pretty daggone fast. Later, Larry is going to say that Marjorie was the aggressor, and I don't doubt that for a minute.
Yeah.
Not for a hot minute do I doubt that.
Yep.
Marjorie decided that Larry was the answer to all her problems. She believed he was her one true love. Really? She would send him love notes telling him how special he was to her and liked to go into detail about their intense sexual connection in the love notes. Now, Larry's a man. He's taken with her. He's been living alone for several years. He thought Marjorie was beautiful and sexy and passionate. He was seduced by her charms. But when he comes to Marjorie's home for the first time, he sees that Jay's clothes are everywhere. Jay is still living there.
Right.
And she makes up a story that he just traveled so often that he left his things at the house for convenience sake. And this is a huge red flag for Larry.
Right.
He tells her, I'm not going to share you.
Yeah.
And if we're going to be together, you need to do something about Jay living in the house. And she told him she couldn't agree more. She doubles down on her lies, telling him that she told Jay he needed to move out, and he understood, and he was looking for a place. She tells Larry that Jay agreed to give her the house and pay it off. Then a week later, she tells Larry that Jay had found a place, and Larry's like, thank God I got him out of the picture, right? Soon after, Larry introduces Marjorie and Noah to his daughter. She and her husband and 2 sons lived near a park, and Larry's oldest grandson was close in age to Noah, and they would play together at the park. And one time when they're there for a play date, Marjorie tells Larry's daughter that she was fed up with Jay because he was gone all the time and tried to make it up to Noah by buying him things. And she goes on to say that Noah needed a really good father figure, like her father, Larry. Then she drops the bombshell saying, Noah thinks Larry is his dad. Now, that's not true. Not true at all.
Wow.
When Jay was home, as soon as he left at 8 a.m., Marjorie was on the phone with Larry. They're getting more serious, and they're having lots and lots of sex. And by August of 2004, Larry is under the impression that he and Marjorie are in a loving, monogamous relationship. And at the same time, Jay had no idea what was going on. He had no idea that she was having an affair. Marjorie is living 2 different lives, one with Jay and one with Larry.
Right.
August 26, 2004, it's Noah's 8th birthday, and he wants to go to a place that has video games and bowling and a restaurant with a bunch of his friends for his party. Jay, Marjorie, and Jay's parents are all there for the occasion. It was a fun day for the family, especially for Noah and Jay. That night, Jay tucked Noah into bed, kissed him goodnight. The next morning, Jay was packed and back on the road. And when he leaves, he's wearing his usual attire, short-sleeved button-down, shorts and sneakers. Jay tells Marjorie as he's leaving that he loves her and he will call her when he makes it to Tucson.
Okay.
In Tucson, he stayed at a La Quinta Inn, spent the next couple of days selling his merchandise, and on the first night, he called from his own cell phone a dancer from a nearby club several times, but she didn't answer. So was he also catting around with strippers when he's on the road? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
He did like the strip clubs, and he did like the attention from the ladies, and he's certainly not getting it at home.
Right.
The next morning, he's in southern New Mexico, and then he moved on to San Antonio and Houston. He was calling his family and friends, his mother, and Marjorie at least once a day. For the next 2 weeks, it's business as usual for Jay, except each quarter, he went all through the Southeast and into Florida, and he would be away not 2, but 3 weeks. It's now September 2004, and he's heading into Florida as others are leaving because there was a hurricane brewing in the Atlantic. Hurricane Francis, a Category 4, a doozy.
Right.
He arrives in Pensacola, Florida. He realizes how bad this hurricane's going to be, and he decides, call it. He's just going to call it and go home.
Right.
And on his way back to Phoenix, he calls Marjorie and tells her about the storm. And for the next few days, Jay drives through Alabama, Mississippi, and back into Texas again, back home. Marjorie is with Larry every single day. And Larry is now spending the night in Jay's house and going on romantic dates with Marjorie while Larry's daughter kept Noah for her. She just weaseled her way into Larry's family.
Wow.
Just before noon on September 7th, Jay makes it back to Tucson. He's 100 miles from home. He checked into the La Quinta Inn and ordered a pizza. The next day is Jay's 45th birthday, and he wants to spend it at home with Marjorie and Noah. But when he calls home, Marjorie tells him that both she and Noah have strep throat, and he should just keep on driving and just keep on working so he doesn't get sick. But the next morning, since it's his birthday, his mother calls him. Of course she does.
Yeah.
Jay tells her he had just made it to Phoenix, and he was going to the warehouse, checking some emails, and he would call her back once he made it home and had settled in. Jay's mother, Joanne, will never hear from her son again.
Wow.
And as far as anyone having strep throat, well, little Noah went to school that day. What happened to Jay after he speaks with his mom is unknown, but here's what we do know. He did indeed go to his warehouse, and he did make some calls. Later on September 8th, he went to a gas station just a few miles from his home, and then sometime after 5 p.m., Jay was murdered. The next day, September 9th, 2004, Marjorie kept Noah out of school, calling him in sick. She made Noah breakfast, and she cleaned up the house while he played video games, and according to Marjorie, Noah felt better that afternoon. This is when Marjorie went to Target with Noah in tow, and while she's there, she bought a lot of cleaning supplies, some boxer briefs for Larry, and a Nintendo game for Noah. She charged $482 at Target on one of Jay's credit cards. Marjorie comes home, and she shampoos the carpets. Noah went to school the next day, and around noon on September 10th, Marjorie went to Lowe's, where she bought $170 worth of stuff. And all that weekend, she was busy cleaning her garage. And once she scrubbed the garage from top to bottom, leaving no nook or cranny uncleaned, she puts down an epoxy coating on the garage floor. Then she painted the garage floor with a sealant. She also patched up a hole in the garage door, and then she installed a camera outside her home, a security camera. Then Larry came over to her house and helped her move some boxes. A week goes by, and Jay never calls his mother. He never calls her back, and no one has heard or seen him. And as each day passed, Jay's mom, Joanne, became more and more frantic. She knows something's wrong, but when she asks Marjorie about Jay, Marjorie blows her off, saying that Jay had come home, but he left immediately afterwards for another trip to Utah or El Paso. She couldn't remember. On March 13th, Marjorie goes to Home Depot, Walmart, and the Great Outdoors, where she spends over $1,000 on Jay's credit cards. The day after that, on September 14th, she bought a water fountain for the front foyer of the house at a price tag of $1,100. On this same day, Marjorie leaves a message on Jay's cell phone, voicemail, saying, quote, I have messages that I need to get to you and a couple of people you need to call them back. Give me a call when you get a chance. End quote.
Wow.
Then later that same night, she left him another message, quote, hey, it's me. I still have messages for you, and I'm trying to call you back. End quote. Marjorie bought new clothes and a bunch of lingerie and other items, charging $1,200 to Jay's credit card. Then on the 15th, she went back to Walmart and bought a car battery charger, a small ramp, caulk, paint, and drywall repair tools. On the 17th, 2 days later, she bought a $900 clothes dryer and went back to Lowe's again. In fact, she's going to go to Lowe's 4 different times, spending $919. After 6 days, Marjorie had spent over $6,500 on all of Jay's different credit cards, American Express, Capital One, Bank of America. Now, a week has gone by, and still no one has heard a peep out of Jay. Not his family, not his clients. In fact, some of Jay's friends and clients were calling the house looking for Jay, and Marjorie told them all that Jay never came home on his birthday. He just continued his travels. And Jay's parents and brother are super worried. They are begging Marjorie to go to the police and report Jay as a missing person.
Right.
On September 19th, Jay's green Bronco was reported being parked on a neighborhood street for days. The neighbors called the police, and a few days later, it was moved. The following Saturday, Larry and Marjorie go to Larry's daughter's home, and when they pulled into her driveway, Larry's daughter comes outside and asks Marjorie, where's my dad? And Marjorie tells her, well, I saw him in the back alley. And that's when Larry's daughter goes to the back alley, and she sees her dad dumping a bunch of large black garbage bags into the dumpsters behind his daughter's house.
Uh-oh.
What?
Yeah.
At the time, Larry's daughter dismissed it as nothing, but it's important to note that Larry lived alone, so why did he need all these trash bags? What was in the trash bags?
Right.
Still, Jay's family is begging Marjorie to call the police, but at this point, she's acting like Jay is never coming home again. She's replacing Jay with Larry, who is already practically living in Jay's house. She'd even packed up Jay's clothes to make room for Larry's clothes. And Noah is now calling Larry Dad.
Jeez.
When Jay's parents and his brother Jake Jr., not to mention his friends, when their calls keep going to voicemail, Jay's mom is now frantic. When Marjorie does answer one of Joanne's calls, she tells her that she's been busy painting the garage floor and she didn't expect Jay to be home for a few more days. And according to more than one source, Marjorie acted like she was annoyed at Jay's mom, Joanne, for even calling to check. Meanwhile, orders are piling up at Jay's business, Jayhawk, and shipments that were supposed to go out were not received, and his clients wanted answers. And Marjorie tells all his clients that he's coming back to Phoenix on September 20th. But the 20th comes and goes, and at this point, it's been 12 days since anyone's heard from Jay. One friend said he got a call, but there was nobody on the line, and the same thing happened to one of Jay's business colleagues. Jay called him, but then there was nobody on the other end. That night, Noah is missing his father, really missing his dad, and Marjorie tells him that something horrible must have happened to his father, and he could have been hurt by bad people, and he might not be coming home.
Oh, jeez.
So Noah's crying, and to soothe him, Marjorie told her son that it's going to be okay because Larry is going to take care of us. Over the next couple of days, Jake Jr., Jay's brother, calls Marjorie and asks her to call the police and report his brother missing, but Marjorie is too busy shopping. On the 22nd of September, Jake Jr. calls Marjorie, and she's really short with him, but does say that she's been trying to contact everyone she could think of to find Jay. And when he asks how Noah is doing with all of it, Marjorie says, quote, Noah knows his dad is missing and that he might not come home again, end quote.
That's not incriminating.
Red flags all over the place for Jay's family now.
Wow.
Finally, that afternoon, Marjorie calls the Phoenix Police Department and reports Jay missing. It's 2 weeks after he doesn't come home on his birthday.
Honey, if I ever come up missing, I hope you don't wait 2 weeks.
Don't worry. I won't.
Okay.
But it's been 2 weeks since he hasn't come home on his birthday, and Jay called home every day.
Yeah.
When Marjorie makes the report, she gives it to Detective Jan Butcher, who thought that at the very least that Marjorie's behavior was hinky, at least given the circumstances.
Right.
She starts the investigation by running Jay's plates and doing a background check on him. There wasn't anything there. So she got in touch with the folks who were closest to Jay. And when she calls Marjorie on September 24th, 2 days after she reports her husband missing, after Jay's family twisted her arm, Detective Butcher asks when she'd last spoken to Jay. And it was unusual for Jay to go for so long without calling her. And Marjorie tells her that Jay traveled with $700,000 in merchandise and $30,000 in cash. She also weaves her story about Jay coming into town but leaving without coming to the house because she and Noah were sick. And she adds in that she spoke with him on September 17th, but she had no idea where he was. And Marjorie is really calm, like not at all like her in-laws who are just beside themselves.
Right.
Jake Jr. has even driven into Phoenix from California to look for his brother and console his older parents. And Detective Butcher asked Marjorie if it was possible that Jay was having an affair, to which she replied, quote, "It's physically unlikely," end quote.
Ugh.
She's so mean.
Wow.
She also tells the detective that what Jay did for a living was dangerous and it may have cost him his life, traveling with all that money and merchandise. And according to Marjorie, the men in Jay's business were gamblers and con men, before saying that her husband was a nice guy. Like all these other people that Jay deals with, they're con men, they're bad, but Jay's nice.
Right.
That afternoon, Marjorie takes Detective Butcher to Jay's warehouse. Jay's big white truck was parked behind the warehouse, but his green Ford Bronco was not there. And while they are there, Marjorie took Jay's checkbook and briefcase. And after Detective Butcher left, she went back to the warehouse where she emptied Jay's safe, which had coins and baseball cards and a letter he had written with instructions on how to handle the business if anything ever happened to him. Marjorie also took Jay's computers, his client list, and his whole damn desk.
Why'd she take the desk?
Yeah. Well, it's like she and Larry loaded up all this stuff and drove it back to Jay's house.
Jeez.
According to Marjorie, she did this because she's going to run Jay's business from the house. She's going to run his business from the house. That's why she took the desk and everything.
All right.
Now, remember, Jake Jr.'s come into town to look for his brother and check on his parents, and he goes to see Marjorie at the house around 6 p.m. that very night that he shows up. And when he pulls up to the house, he can see a white plaster patch on one of the garage doors. And this isn't just a little hole. It's a foot wide by 8 inches high. And Jake Jr. takes a photograph of it. And when he asks Marjorie what happened, she tells him that she backed into the garage door. But little Noah's very excited to see his Uncle Jake. And when he hugs Noah, he whispers in this little boy's ear, "Do you know why I am in Phoenix?" And Noah looked at him with a sad face and said, quote, "Yeah, because Dad's missing and he might not ever come home," end quote.
Wow.
Jake looks around the house a bit. He sees that the house is spotless, but on the kitchen counter, there were just piles and piles of papers, life insurance papers. So while he's been calling the highway patrol in all these states looking for his brother and his parents are frantic, his sister-in-law is figuring out what she needs to do to collect on $1 million policy.
Sure.
When Noah gets hungry, Marjorie orders Chinese food, and Jake Jr. and Noah go and pick it up, just the two of them. And this is when Noah tells his uncle that his dad had called him a couple of times, but that his dad just kept repeating himself, like it was a tape being played.
Ugh.
Diabolical, I tell you.
Man.
She wants people to believe that she spoke with Larry on the 20th, so it would explain the calls from Jay's phone where no one was speaking on the other end. But Marjorie is so devastated that her husband's been missing that she takes Larry to a Sting concert and pays for a pony to come to Larry's grandson's birthday party.
Jeez. Man.
On September 27th, Joanne and Jake Sr. tell Marjorie they want to go to Jay's warehouse and look around. And reluctantly, Marjorie agrees. And on the way there, Marjorie gets a phone call from Detective Butcher. Marjorie agrees to see Detective Butcher and other detectives at the warehouse. And when they all arrive, there was more than one red flag for the police. Marjorie had told them that the white cargo truck was missing, but when they found it parked at the warehouse, it was his Bronco that was missing. Jay's briefcase was at the warehouse, so Marjorie must have brought it back, but it's empty. And Joanne starts crying. Jay's mom starts crying because she knows that her son never went anywhere without his briefcase.
Right.
And while Joanne is hysterical, Marjorie is showing zero concern for the whereabouts of her husband.
Wow.
When police want to come to the Orbin home to look around for clues, Marjorie tells them, no, you can't come today because I'm working at Noah's school, but I'll allow you to come over in a couple days. And she tells the detective she'd get back with her. She never does.
Yeah.
Then just after noon on October 23rd, 2004, a homeless guy, his name is Robert Ame, he's on his way back from a beer run when he decides that he's going to cut through the Arizona desert. And it gets hot, so he stops during his trip, and when he stops, he sees a random pile of garbage and decides to take a break. He sat down on a discarded mattress. He's going to crack a beer and rest before he goes back to this construction site where he's been sleeping. And as he's sitting there, he looks around and he sees a big storage tub that is covered with a carpet. And he's thinking that maybe inside this, there's something I can sell to make some cash.
Sure.
So he uncovers the tub and finds a piece of glass to cut away all the tape that's holding the lid of this big Rubbermaid tub on. And when he opened it, he found layers and layers of black garbage bags and plastic sheeting. And he's ripping into it. But he was soon overcome by the stench of what was inside.
No.
At first, he thought maybe it was filled with like rancid food. But then he saw a belly button. Next week, we will talk about who's in the tub and how two police officers investigating two separate cases figure out they're both on the same case. But that is the story of Marjorie Orbin, the showgirl. And that's all I have to say about that for now. For nearly 7 years, Jane Doe has lived in the shadows, her past buried deep beneath layers of secrecy and silence. After completing more than was asked of her in her last assignment for the enigmatic Kywolf project, Jane Doe vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of dead bodies and unanswered questions. But now, as the specter of her past returns with a vengeance, Jane finds herself thrust back into a world she thought she'd left behind forever. When her former sins come knocking on her door, Jane is faced with an impossible choice: continue to hide in the shadows, or once again take up arms against the forces that threaten to tear apart the fabric of society. With enemies lurking around every corner and allies who may not be what they seem, Jane must rely on her wits, training, and her unyielding determination to survive. And while trust is a luxury she cannot afford, Jane must confront the truth about herself and her past. As the clock ticks, she realizes that the line between family, friend, and foe are razor thin, and in the end, the only person she can rely on is herself. Jane Doe 4 Charlotte is available September 24th, 2024. No name, no regrets, no mercy.
All right, my takeaway from all of this.
From part one,
she is the most evil, sinister, you know what, that's ever walked the face of the earth.
Evil woman.
Oh, my
No.
God. Wow. Heartless, cold.
Oh, my gosh.
Ruthless.
She's all about Marjorie. Marjorie's all about Marjorie. Just wait till next week. Just wait.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else to say at this point. So let's just go right into a little bless your heart.
Well, bless your heart.
All right. Number one, I'm going to call, for the love of everything holy, please take an Uber.
Okay.
All right. A dim-witted crook landed behind bars for allegedly swiping a government vehicle for a ride home 2 hours after walking out of a Louisiana lockup.
Oh, my gosh.
Lisa Cleaver, 42, was hit with theft charges and hauled back to Livingston Parish Detention Center in Livingston Monday morning after stealing a Department of Public Works truck.
Oops.
And leaving her discharge papers inside the truck, according to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office.
So not even a car. She takes like a whole ass truck. Okay.
Well, once again, go big or go home.
True.
Deputies said the dolt, I love they called her a dolt, first tried to hijack an unmarked squad car from the jail parking lot immediately after her 7 a.m. release on criminal trespassing charges.
I mean, that's not conspicuous at all, just to drive away in a police car.
No. I mean, she knows it's going to work.
Rolling my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. During our investigation, deputies learned that Cleaver, as soon as she stepped foot out of the LPDC upon her release, attempted to gain entry into an LPSO unmarked unit in the front parking lot, Sheriff Johnson Ard said in a statement. She was later apprehended and put back in jail.
She's wanted to take whatever car was closest, whatever's convenient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Keeping in line with what we're talking about with transportation, number 2 is called Need a Ride.
Need a ride.
Yep. A man in Florida was arrested on his birthday Friday after authorities caught him trying to hide and blend in with a trackless sightseeing train and even picking up passengers while high on meth.
I'm so confused. Keep going.
Jonathan Patrick Winslow was celebrating his 57th trip around the sun on a raucous Independence Day when he turned up at the Conch Tour Train Depot in Key West and allegedly weaseled his way into conducting one of their vehicles.
It's conch, by the way.
Oh, is
conch.
it?
Yeah.
Conch. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, like conch shell.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, of course it's in Florida. Of course it's conch.
Yeah.
My bad. My apologies to the people in Conch.
There goes Chris again, correcting everybody.
Yep. All right. Winslow allegedly bamboozled a well-meaning employee into forking over the keys after claiming he used to work at the company years prior and requesting a tour of the train, according to an arrest report obtained by WPLG. I assume that's the television station down there.
It's okay. I'm a professional. I've done this before.
I've done this at least once. The confused employee was left in the dust when Winslow allegedly sped away, thinking that surely the stranger must have had permission to take the train. He did not have permission to take the train. Police said he was picked up later, apprehended, and booked.
Again, I'm a professional. I've done this before.
Exactly. Number 3, and finally. Marco.
You
say it.
Polo.
Thank you. Virginia police are searching for a man who hid in a storm drain after fleeing a car crash on a state highway on Monday afternoon. State troopers originally responded to 2 crashes around 2:35 p.m. on Monday on I-495 eastbound in Fairfax. A third crash happened shortly behind the responding officers while they were investigating the first 2 incidences.
Oh, my gosh. It's like the Keystone Cops.
Yeah. One of the drivers involved in the third crash took off after the troopers asked for identification. He made it less than a mile down the interstate before veering off the road and plummeting into a ditch. Undeterred, the suspect took off on foot and sprinted across the east and westbound lanes on the highway.
Ooh.
Yeah. Somehow he vanished in a drainage spot underneath the interstate before troopers could nab him. In a scene reminiscent of a Super Mario video game, the suspect reemerged from the drainage spot on the eastbound side before hopping right back down in a second smaller storm drain.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
How big was this guy? He had to be pretty small.
Yeah. Virginia State Police and rescue personnel scoured the area to no avail. They spared no resources and employed the assistance of a drone unit, rescue teams, and more than a dozen officers, all to find one man. The search dragged on until 6:30 p.m., a whopping 4 hours after the initial response to the first crashes. The police said that the suspect didn't have a valid driver's license, but he did have a construction identification. He still remains loose.
Seriously?
They never found him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I feel like we're educating people
Yeah.
on how to get away. Just hit the storm drain.
Yeah, find that storm drain. You're good to go.
Yeah, because Stephen King's Pennywise the clown is down there. I wouldn't go down there.
Yeah,
but
if you see a red balloon, just stay away from that.
Stay away.
Yeah.
Stay away. Well, if you have a bless your heart, or you know somebody's heart who needs blessing, or somebody who's heading into the storm drains, I just thought there were sewer cats down there. All you have to do is go to hitchtohomicide.com. When you get there, there's a pull-down menu. And while you're there, you can also suggest a case or tell us about your brush with true crime.
Please do.
That's my amazing husband out there.
That's my beautiful bride in the booth.
Join us next week for part 2 on Hitch to Homicide.
Bye, y'all.